Here is our protagonist, Daichi. He has a father who was an astronaut but passed away not long ago, so he is now under the guardianship of one of his father's colleagues. During a parent-teacher meeting at school, the teacher mentioned that Daichi had recently been neglecting his studies. The reason, however, was that Daichi wasn't interested in school knowledge but only wanted to learn about the things that intrigued him. When the teacher asked if Daichi wanted to pursue a career like his father's, the guardian stated that Daichi's father had nothing to do with his future. After the meeting, Daichi went to play at a game store, where he encountered a classmate. This classmate revealed that his family owned the store and later invited Daichi to his house, where 2 other classmates were also present. They planned to invite Daichi to visit a villa, but he declined. Later, Daichi was surprised to see a news report on TV about a circular rainbow, which brought back some memories that prompted him to leave. Years ago, Daichi had ventured into a restricted area where he encountered another boy. The boy asked about Daichi's necklace, and Daichi explained that it was a gift from his father. The following day, Daichi set out for the place where he first saw the circular rainbow. Recalling that time, when Daichi climbed over the fence to meet the boy demonstrated his ability to jump from a high place without feeling anything. Daichi decided to bet his necklace in a challenge, which he lost. Determined to retrieve the necklace, Daichi surprised the boy by using a boomerang and successfully reclaimed it. By the end of the day, the boy introduced himself as Teppei and asked Daichi if he wanted to see another surprise. It was Teppei who first showed Daichi the circular rainbow. Now, Daichi visited his father's grave and met one of his father's former colleagues there. He asked the man if his father was truly dead. The man remembered how Daichi's father had launched himself into space to protect Earth from a catastrophe. Daichi then returned to the place where he first met Teppei. At that time, it was 3 months before his father's death. Teppei led Daichi deep into the restricted area, convincing him there was something fascinating inside. After a long journey, they encountered a girl who had never awakened until Daichi accidentally touched her. He noticed she was wearing something on her hand. As they tried to bring her out, all 3 were caught, and that was the last time Daichi saw Teppei. Now, Daichi unexpectedly found himself able to enter the area again. He followed the path Teppei had shown him but ended up in an unfamiliar place and thought he was lost. Suddenly, a girl appeared and guided him further. Meanwhile, in outer space, a robot unexpectedly emerged to attack Earth. The space station where Daichi's father once worked quickly deployed satellites to intercept it. At the same time, Daichi was taken to the deepest part of the restricted area, where the girl showed him the robot approaching to destroy Earth. Determined to stop it, Daichi suddenly found a gun appearing in his hand. He was then transported to a launch pad, where he met a scientist who asked if he was the captain. Daichi was unsure, but his desire to save Earth resonated with the gun in his hand. Back at the space station, it was discovered that other space stations were unexpectedly operating on their own, launching a rocket without any commands. A rocket launched from Earth then split into a small robot, which flew to 3 space stations, merging with components at each one to form a giant robot. Daichi's father's colleague, realizing Teppei was still there, wondered who was piloting the robot. To his surprise, when he contacted it, Daichi was inside. Suddenly, someone else contacted Daichi, informing him of the current situation. It was straightforward. He was in the middle of a battlefield, and if the enemy reached Earth, the entire world would be doomed. The robot Daichi was piloting was currently powered by the gun he had held earlier. Seeing that Daichi seemed clueless about piloting a robot, a girl who had contacted him instructed him to hold tightly onto the gun and provide energy, leaving the rest to her. However, aiming indirectly like this was difficult, and the enemy kept dodging, prompting the girl to apologize in advance in case Daichi lost his life. Not wanting to die, Daichi continuously fed energy through the gun. The robot suddenly dashed toward the enemy and got close enough, allowing the girl to fire at point-blank range, destroying the enemy. Despite the victory, the robot suffered significant damage. The scientist informed the commander that the girl who had helped control the robot was someone he wanted to introduce, promising to bring her to the base soon. Meanwhile, Daichi and the robot were falling back to Earth. Daichi managed to land safely in the robot's smaller form and was picked up by the commander, who took him for a comprehensive examination. Daichi was found to be in good physical health, but his gun was taken away and secured elsewhere. The commander then explained that this organization, publicly seen as one dedicated to peaceful space exploration and development, was in reality a defense force against alien invaders. While giving Daichi a tour, the commander discovered that members of the security force had arrived and were forcing Teppei and the girl Daichi had previously saved to wear devices that controlled them. Daichi ran to Teppei and suggested they play boomerang together, but before they could get far, both Teppei and the girl were overcome with severe headaches caused by the devices the security officer had put on them. The officer then detained both Teppei and the girl. Meanwhile, the scientist explained the nature of Daichi's gun, which could generate energy but was suspected to be a living organism with its own will, as not everyone could activate it. It was revealed that the attackers who piloted the robot threatening Earth were actually tied to a corporation on Earth. This corporation had supplied technology to two individuals who called themselves the Gears of the World. These two had projected their consciousness into space to create robots to attack Earth. The corporation's chairman had an AI companion and a plan to take over the world, allowing only those he selected to survive in his envisioned new world. Daichi, now imprisoned, met the scientist again. Introducing himself as Peter, the scientist wanted to talk about the gun. Peter explained that Daichi's gun was the second to appear, the first having been brought by the girl named Hana. However, Hana couldn't use it herself, so Teppei had been trained to wield it instead. Daichi questioned why Teppei and Hana appeared to be in pain the previous day, and the security officer revealed that they were being monitored and controlled via the devices, with ultrasonic waves from a nearby tower affecting the devices if they resisted. The officer added that Daichi would likely have to wear one soon. When Daichi asked about his gun, the officer stated it was no longer his. It was then revealed that Daichi's father had contributed to the creation of the robot Daichi had piloted, leading some to believe it was Daichi's destiny to be chosen for it. Daichi suddenly ran to the beach, triggering the alarm on his headgear. He raised his hand to summon his gun and fired at the signal-emitting tower, freeing Teppei and Hana. However, the unpleasant officer tried to restrain Hana again, forcing Hana's squirrel to leap onto his face, allowing her to escape. The three of them later played boomerang together on the beach. Teppei asked why Daichi had returned, to which he replied that he came back to fulfill his promise of showing Hana the boomerang and to rediscover his own feelings in this place. However, the next day, all three were detained and brought to the command room. The unpleasant officer revealed he had just been authorized to use the control devices on them, but the commander declared that these devices would be abolished at the base, as he was the one in charge there. The officer had no rebuttal and left angrily. Meanwhile, Peter introduced the person he mentioned earlier to the base. To the commander's surprise, it was Akari, his own daughter. She had lived with her mother since the commander and his wife divorced, with her mother now serving as the governor on the space station. Daichi realized that Akari was the navigator who had helped him in battle before. Akari, a skilled hacker, explained that her expertise stemmed from being left home alone often while her parents were busy. 3 years ago, the commander had promised to attend her birthday but ended up forgetting due to work, leaving Akari alone. The commander took Teppei and Hana shopping afterward, apologizing for not being able to get them out of the base sooner. He pledged to take responsibility for them and Daichi, deciding that they would all stay at his home from now on. While tidying up the house, Daichi cooked curry for everyone for dinner. The commander reminded them to be mindful of each other since they were now living together. Suddenly, Hana, wearing nothing, ran out asking for help with the bathroom, as it was different from the one at the base. The three men quickly averted their eyes. That night, Hana stayed in the same room as Akari. Hana's squirrel unexpectedly returned, and Akari recalled seeing it earlier that day at a shrine. Meanwhile, Daichi and Teppei sat on the balcony stargazing. Daichi reflected on how just 2 days ago, he was lost about his future, yet here he was now. He asked Teppei to show him the circular rainbow again, and Teppei obliged. Teppei then questioned whether Daichi wasn't afraid of him, but realized Daichi hadn't changed since they first met. Teppei admitted he was intrigued by Daichi's gun and returned a bracelet to him. Elsewhere, the unpleasant officer contacted an unknown faction, which ordered him to control Hana and eliminate Daichi. Meanwhile, at the corporation, the second Gear of the World began his move. He knew about Daichi's gun and suspected the humans were utilizing some princess, seemingly referring to Hana. Regardless, the blue-haired figure launched into space. The command room received an alert, and the unpleasant officer recognized the enemy as the one who had killed Daichi's father. Daichi, tasked with writing a report about obtaining the gun, struggled with what to write. Suddenly, the officer approached Daichi to inform him that the enemy attacking now was the one responsible for his father's death. The commander, shocked that the enemy presumed dead by Daichi's father years ago had returned, didn't want Daichi involved in the fight. Despite this, Daichi boarded a rocket and launched into battle. The commander, unaware of how Daichi got clearance, confronted the officer, who admitted he authorized it. The governor called to question why Daichi was sent out, pointing out that the robot's armor hadn't been maintained. This was exactly what the officer had intended. The commander then banned the security forces from entering any secure zones without his directive. Meanwhile, Hana, hearing the news through her squirrel, grabbed Teppei and headed out. Akari hacked into the satellites to assist Daichi, nonchalantly remarking that this was nothing compared to when she infiltrated the Air Force last year. Hana simultaneously transferred energy into a mysterious machine while the enemy destroyed satellites one by one. Daichi asked the commander whether this enemy was truly the one who killed his father. Daichi then confronted the foe, who skillfully dodged Daichi's bullets and knocked him away. As the enemy charged in for another attack, a new robot appeared. The enemy initially assumed it was an ally, but was shocked when the robot struck him directly. Hana revealed to everyone that the new robot was on their side. The robot then created a circular rainbow, leading Daichi to realize it was Teppei. The commander went to Teppei's cockpit, puzzled about how the previously inactive machine was now operational. Peter speculated it was Hana's doing, while Akari attributed their victory to divine intervention. After the battle, the blue-haired enemy was baffled by what he perceived as betrayal from a presumed ally. The next day, Daichi and Akari worried about Hana and Teppei's fate. Akari attempted an odd stunt to cheer Daichi up and decided they should sneak into the base her way. Meanwhile, Hana underwent a comprehensive examination, confirming she was the one who activated the machine. Teppei was also being tested for brain function and mental health. Peter informed Teppei that the robot he piloted was acquired from the enemy corporation when they found and brought Teppei to the base. Until the previous day, they had no idea it could function. The corporation publicly claimed the machine was a human interface weapon system, but now realized it had a greater purpose. Peter revealed that Teppei wasn't controlling the robot, he was its soul. Teppei, who had been an ordinary boy until recently, began exhibiting unusual behavior. Peter wanted to study these changes further. The commander decided to keep this secret from the rest of the base until more could be investigated, though he acknowledged the situation was beyond his authority. While some wondered if Teppei might betray them, the commander argued Teppei had saved Daichi and could be considered an ally for now. Teppei, however, felt disgusted with himself for resembling the enemy they fought against at Gear of the World. Meanwhile, two Gears of the World infiltrated the island disguised as crepe vendors. Daichi and Akari bought crepes from them, but Hana's squirrel acted wary of their truck. Later, Daichi and Akari entered the base, learning Hana was in the medical ward. Akari snooped around and discovered Teppei was in the interrogation room. The commander allowed Daichi to visit him. In the room, Teppei created a rainbow in his hand. He confessed that while he used to take pride in this ability as a child, he now recognized it as abnormal and avoided doing it in front of others. Teppei admitted he felt he wasn't the same person he used to be, but Daichi reassured him to remain true to his current self. Daichi returned the bracelet to Teppei as thanks for saving his life. Meanwhile, the two disguised Gears of the World gained access to the base, deceiving security at the gate and the surveillance cameras. They infiltrated the camera control room and hacked the organization's systems. Akari and the base quickly detected the breach, realizing the intruders were targeting Daichi. The commander, with two subordinates, began searching for him. The two infiltrators, however, were actually after Teppei. Confronting him, they acknowledged his former identity, which Teppei had abandoned. They questioned why he intervened during the previous battle and whether he intended to betray them. The commander and his troops arrived, demanding to know who the intruders were. Teppei recognized them as the crepe vendors. Amarok, the blue-haired man, and Malkin, the woman, revealed themselves as planetary gears. They prepared to fight to the end, but Akari regained control of the system, forcing the two to retreat to their hidden robot stashed in their vehicle. The commander and his troops pursued them. Amarok activated the robot, wreaking havoc in the surroundings. Despite heavy weaponry, the soldiers were unable to stop the destruction. Teppei intervened, willing to surrender to them. However, Daichi arrived, refusing to let Teppei go, and fired his energy weapon at Amarok's robot, damaging it. Surprised by the unfamiliar weapon, Amarok ordered Malkin to retreat. Though Teppei stayed with the humans, Amarok remained confident that Teppei wouldn't betray them, as the sensation of returning to his true form in space was unforgettable. The commander didn't know the full truth about these enemies, but understood that they posed a grave threat. If their robots reached Earth, humanity would be doomed. Returning to the control room, he found Akari had restored the system. When he asked where she was, he learned she had already gone back. He then asked Peter about his thoughts on their young generation. Peter was at a loss for words. The next day, the doctor recommended Daichi remain in the infirmary for further tests. Though Daichi felt fine, Hana insisted he comply for a thorough check. The doctor was summoned by the commander, leaving Teppei to meet him. Teppei felt that being with his friends like before was now a distant dream. Hana blamed herself for Teppei's current situation, but he reassured her it wasn't her fault. He feared becoming an enemy to his beloved friends and worried about losing control the next time he transformed into his robotic form. When Teppei met the commander, he was assigned a top-secret mission: travel to the governor's space station to retrieve a prisoner named IG, who was also a target of the enemy. IG's genetic material had been used to create Teppei, making him, in essence, Teppei's father. They needed to secure IG before the enemy did, because his unique genes held vital importance. Teppei was assured he wouldn't need to transform for this mission and could carry it out comfortably. Akari accompanied him to space, serving as a cover story that she was visiting her mother, the station's governor. Upon arriving at the space station, Teppei noted some unusual activity in the landing area. Meeting Akari's mother, he discreetly asked staff about another ship that had just arrived. He learned it was a supply ship. Teppei and Akari then began their covert mission to locate IG. Akari noticed signs of enemy infiltration and deduced they were also after IG. Realizing this gave them the advantage to strike first. They located the cryo chamber housing IG. Teppei was surprised by IG's youthful appearance. Akari warned that the infiltrators were closing in, prompting them to plan an escape. Teppei decided to wake IG and flee through an emergency exit. When awakened, IG immediately recognized Teppei, as he had chosen Teppei's name. Understanding the danger, IG agreed to cooperate. The trio opened the emergency exit and prepared to escape. When the infiltrators found the open hatch, they realized their target had slipped away and pursued through the same route. However, the trio had hidden themselves in separate cryo chambers to mislead the enemy. Once the coast was clear, they began their real escape. IG considered himself Teppei's father, but Teppei rejected the notion, as he didn't feel he had a real father. As they fled, one infiltrator ambushed them. IG devised a plan. He released 3 astronaut suits, letting them drift. The infiltrator assumed they were empty and fired at them. However, IG had concealed himself inside one suit and launched a surprise attack, giving Teppei the chance to subdue the enemy with a tranquilizer dart. He still managed to fire one shot, so IG shielded Teppei, after which Akari bandaged him up. IG devised a way for them to escape before the infiltrators could catch up. They would use the plastic explosives the enemy had brought to blow open a door. The 3 escaped through a wall partition and reached the docking bay, but the area was under heavy guard. Although IG had a plan to escape, Teppei was unwilling to accept him as his father. Seizing the moment, IG hugged Teppei, snatched Teppei's stun gun, and used it to knock him out. IG decided to go alone, knowing the infiltrators were professionals who would target Teppei more intensely if they were together. By splitting up, IG hoped to divert their attention to himself, ensuring Teppei's safety. He suspected someone had orchestrated Teppei's arrival to meet him under the guise of a mission. The commander later revealed that IG had committed assault because of Teppei. He didn't want Teppei to become an experiment. Now IG had been captured by the infiltrators, all to protect Teppei. Teppei and Akari returned and apologized to Akari's mother for lying about their mission. On their way back, Teppei noticed the close bond between Akari and her mother, and Akari likened it to the relationship between IG and Teppei. However, Teppei was reluctant to accept this comparison. Back at base, the commander revealed that the group holding IG worked under the security force. When questioned, they evaded accountability. Teppei thought the mission was a failure, but the commander explained that IG had escaped upon landing, making the mission a partial success. The next day, the governor called the commander to inquire about IG, who remained missing. She emphasized the importance of finding him soon, as their organization's plans involving IG could not be jeopardized. Akari overheard this conversation, and they disclosed to her that the organization's secret project aimed to ensure humanity's survival in the face of looming disasters. This information was classified, and Akari was forbidden from sharing it. The governor noted that Teppei's robot remained adrift in space, motionless, and decided not to take any action for now. Meanwhile, Daichi continued training in robot piloting, quickly adapting due to his experience with similar video games, though his performance metrics lagged significantly behind Teppei's. Teppei wanted to train further but stopped when Hana expressed concern. On the corporate side, the chairman's plan was revealed. Selected individuals would leave Earth, while the remaining population would be exterminated by robots. The robots would then leave the solar system, having no reason to linger. The commander returned to the island to visit Daichi's father's grave and encountered Daichi's guardian there. Daichi spoke with Hana and asked her about the words she had said when they first met. Hana explained that she was created by the planetary gears to wield the special gun, but was discarded when she failed to use it. Left in a dark, desolate place, she was eventually saved by a light Daichi. Teppei confided in Akari about the true nature of the planetary gears. They were created from the material of the cube, which contained crystallized souls. As long as the cube remained intact, the planetary gears were nearly immortal. However, Teppei disliked being one of them because achieving their purpose left them with nothing but emptiness. He questioned whether immortality was eternal happiness or merely a prison. Unable to answer, Akari went to find something to eat. Meanwhile, the corporation's chairman revealed that his office was protected by biometric security, allowing only him to enter. However, Amarok and Malkin easily hacked their way in, locating his smart computer. The pair conspired with the computer to deceive the chairman, who was so focused on his goals that he remained unaware of their true identities. The two then contacted their overseer, urging him to expedite the plan to capture Hana. At the same time, Daichi reunited with his guardian, also his uncle, and requested permission from the commander to speak with him privately. Initially, his uncle believed Daichi was just spending his summer vacation traveling. However, he was shocked to learn that Daichi had joined a government organization and was engaged in dangerous missions despite being underage. He was grateful to his uncle for always thinking about him, but he had responsibilities to fulfill. Meanwhile, Hana was feeling as if she didn't belong to this world. Suddenly, the overseer appeared and pointed a gun at her. Her squirrel ran off to alert Daichi. Noticing the squirrel's strange behavior, Daichi followed it and found the overseer threatening Hana and attempting to take her away. Daichi's uncle also arrived and told him to step back because the man had a gun, but Daichi asked his uncle to retreat instead. Daichi pulled out his energy gun, but the overseer taunted him, claiming he didn't have the courage to kill. Daichi retracted the gun and threw his boomerang, which the overseer dodged, not realizing it would circle back and strike him in the head, knocking him into the water. The man was subsequently captured. Daichi's uncle decided to leave him under the commander's supervision, acknowledging Daichi's growth and newfound determination. That night, the commander showed his assistant what had happened to the moon, a fate Earth would share if the planetary gears robots reached it. Anyone approaching their robots would have their life force drained. However, Daichi's protective gun made him the only one capable of fighting them. The commander felt helpless, as their current situation seemed nearly hopeless. Meanwhile, the corporate chairman pitied the protagonist's organization, as they were unaware that the AI itself was the one choosing who would inhabit the new world. Amarok and Malkin, however, pitied the chairman, who was oblivious to the fact that he was the one being used. The commander's assistant discovered a research facility from 10 years ago, which was a subsidiary of Macbeth Corporation, the antagonists. Images revealed Amarok and Malkin were involved. The facility had experimented on children to create ones compatible with the machines that were now the spacefaring robots. After an incident, all the children disappeared except for Teppei. The robot's activation indicated Macbeth Corporation's plan was nearing completion. According to Tepe, the planetary gears were collecting Earth's energy to restart the mothership dormant near Uranus. This was a catastrophic scenario. If confirmed by the security force, they would likely bomb Macbeth Corporation and blame terrorists to prevent public panic. The government was determined to keep the impending disaster secret, believing public knowledge would only lead to chaos. Meanwhile, Daichi's group casually ate watermelon. Tepe cherished the peaceful moment, noting that if even one enemy reached Earth, it would drain all its energy. Akari reassured him, believing his presence meant they had nothing to worry about. Tepe, however, doubted his control if he reverted to his robot form and warned them not to place too much hope in him. Daichi encouraged the group to remain optimistic and look toward the future. Suddenly, Hana's squirrel began panicking. The group reported this to the commander, who was informed by Hana that the squirrel was warning them of another impending enemy attack. She pinpointed the enemy's location and predicted they would activate the machine and launch into space that very night. Daichi had already boarded the rocket, preparing for launch. The commander tried to forbid Daichi from going into battle, citing his near-death experiences, but Daichi insisted he couldn't stand by and let the world fall into danger. The commander, seeing Daichi's resemblance to his father, couldn't find a way to stop him. That night, Malkin launched into space to attack, and the commander was astonished by Hana's prophetic accuracy. Hana reaffirmed her belief in her squirrel, stating it had never lied to her before. Daichi was cleared for launch and ascended into space. Skipping the transformation process, he quickly engaged the enemy and opened fire. Malkin skillfully dodged the shots, and just then, Amarok appeared to join the battle. Hana, sensing the situation, called Tepe to accompany her. Tepe, however, was paralyzed by fear that reverting to his robot form would strip away his humanity. Akari approached him and slapped him, snapping him out of his hesitation. She demanded that Tepe return alive as promised so they could eat watermelon together. Resolute, Tepe agreed and went with Hana. Meanwhile, Amarok's entry into the fray put Daichi at a disadvantage. Amarok managed to sever one of Daichi's arms, leaving him vulnerable. Malkin launched continuous ranged attacks while Amarok assaulted him in close quarters, leaving Daichi no room to defend himself. When Daichi attempted to gain distance, they blocked him from both sides. At the critical moment, Tepe arrived unexpectedly. The two planned to split up to deal with the threats, but Amarok grabbed Daichi and locked him in place, ordering Malkin to shoot through them both. For the planetary gears, survival depended only on the intact cube core, but Daichi was not like them. Malkin began charging a massive arrow, threatening to pierce both of them. Tepe had to make a quick decision. He pulled out Amarok's cube core and used it to block the arrow. The resulting explosion shattered Malkin, forcing her to retreat. Daichi, freed, managed to push Amarok away, but found his thrusters damaged, leaving him immobile. At this moment, Akari dragged a satellite into position to propel Daichi forward. She detonated several rockets to accelerate his momentum, allowing him to defeat Amarok with a single strike. With their machines damaged, both Amarok and Malkin were furious at Tepe for officially betraying them. The group rescued Tepe, now fully human and stripped of his special powers. In his hands was another gun. The commander later contacted his ex-wife, informing her of his intention to appoint Akari as an official member of their organization. The governor, noticing newfound hope in the commander, agreed to support him. The commander then met with Daichi's group, who had been outfitted with their own uniforms. Tepe expressed amazement at Daichi's solo victory over Amarok, resulting in the return of Daichi's ring. The commander announced that all four of them were now official combat members of the organization, and Daichi would serve as team leader. This stunned Daichi, who wasn't sure how to lead, but Hana suggested they first eat watermelon as planned. Meanwhile, the chairman of the antagonistic corporation showed signs of unease over Malkin and Amarok's failure and unauthorized actions. However, the AI reassured him that everything remained under control. Amarok and Malkin returned their damaged machines to the technical team for repairs. The technicians determined that the excessive power usage had caused the systems to short-circuit, requiring 2 weeks to fix. Since the other planetary gears machines were unaffected, Malkin and Amarok decided to locate some familiar faces to assist them. Daichi's group boarded a ship to another city, as Hana and her squirrel predicted a significant energy presence there, suggesting the high likelihood of an enemy appearance. Analyzing the machine Tepe piloted, Peter discovered it was only compatible with Tepe and unsuitable for continuous use. This temporarily ensured Amarok and Malkin wouldn't attack, as they needed to focus on locating the remaining 5 planetary gears. Tepe revealed that there were 8 in total, most of whom had lost their memories of being planetary gears. However, proximity to another gear could restore their memories. Tepe also realized that Amarok and Malkin had the ability to locate other planetary gears. Since Tepe had lost his cube-based powers, he could no longer sense them himself. As a result, the commander assigned the group the mission of finding and preventing the other gears from regaining their memories. Once preparations were complete, including their outfits, the commander's assistant informed them of a potential location where Amarok and Malkin might store their transforming machine tonight. However, Akari appeared indifferent to the mission, focusing instead on researching fun places to visit, which irritated the assistant. The group headed to a restaurant that doubled as a casino to try the food there. Akari attempted to use the squirrel's prediction ability for gambling, but Hana explained that the predictions were instinctive rather than a controllable power, disappointing Akari. Suddenly, a casino staff member named Zin approached, stating that minors were not allowed inside. However, the casino owner intervened, explaining that he had granted them entry and informed Zin that someone was there to see him. After leaving the casino, Hana and Akari went for snacks while Daichi and Tepe headed to the harbor to search for enemies. At the harbor, Amarok unexpectedly discovered Daichi and expressed surprise at their recurring encounters. Amarok then revealed that he was the one who had killed Daichi's father. Daichi immediately dodged Amarok's shots and drew his gun, but Amarok fled. When Tepe returned and heard what happened, he advised Daichi to shoot first next time. Amarok regrouped with Malkin and informed her of Daichi's presence, suspecting that their group had figured out their plan. Amarok found the situation more entertaining this way. That evening, upon returning to the ship, the commander confirmed that Hana's prediction was accurate. However, Hana credited the squirrel, denying her own contribution. The commander also revealed that the target Amarok and Malkin sought was a 17-year-old. Daichi felt a sense of familiarity at the mention of this age. Meanwhile, at the casino, the owner escorted Zin to meet the real mastermind behind the establishment. The true owner revealed that Zin possessed a power allowing him to make the roulette ball land precisely where he focused. Although Zin didn't fully understand his ability, it worked consistently. The owner sought to exploit this power to profit from the casino, promising Zin a luxurious life in return. However, Zin found this lifestyle dull compared to his former passion for photography. Amarok and Malkin then arrived, quickly defeating the casino owner. Malkin kissed Zin to awaken his memories, causing Zin to realize his powers and the excitement that awaited. He was brought to their machine to activate a robot, which turned out to be a smaller model. Daichi's group was immediately deployed. Daichi piloted a small robot to confront Zin. Zin, confident in his newfound power, declared that nothing was beyond his grasp. The two began exchanging gunfire, but Daichi struggled with accuracy and retreated to evade Zin's shots. Akari hacked into Zin's robot system and identified him as the boy from the casino. She also discovered that Zin's robot would transfer its energy to a giant form in space in just over a minute. Realizing their systems were compromised, Amarok and Malkin warned Zin, but he ignored them and generated an electromagnetic pulse EMP. This electromagnetic wave disabled all electronic devices within a wide radius. Zin attempted to shoot Daichi immediately, but unexpectedly, Daichi used his gun to reactivate his robot and fired back at Zin. The two bullets grazed past each other. Daichi dodged successfully, while Zin's robot was struck directly at the energy core, causing it to explode. Zin then fled the scene. Shortly after, power was restored to the entire area. Akari noted that they narrowly avoided disaster, as there were only 8 seconds left before the enemy could transform. Meanwhile, Tepe felt increasingly useless, believing he was the only one in the team who hadn't contributed. Zin later regrouped with Amarok and Malkin. Amarok attributed their loss to the hacking of their system, vowing to eliminate the hacker first. Zin, however, admitted that the world was about to become far more exciting from now on. A few days later, Daichi's team arrived in another city to search for the next world gear. Peter analyzed Zin's robot from the previous battle and discovered that its cockpit contained a compartment housing both the pilot and the energy used to operate the robot. This energy was the same type their team's weapons were capable of targeting. When the energy compartment was inserted into a small-scale robot, the energy transformation process took 4 minutes. Therefore, if they could destroy the energy compartment within 4 minutes, they could prevent the space robot from activating. This critical information, once again, came from Akari's efforts. Being praised so often left Akari feeling extremely proud. However, her success had also drawn the attention of Amarok and Malkin, who had identified her and begun targeting her. That evening, Daichi's team went out for dinner. Teppei predicted that the enemy would appear in this city again, but taking them down within 4 minutes posed a significant challenge. He was frustrated that another battle was about to take place in such a crowded city. After finishing her meal, Akari decided to take a stroll and buy a new laptop since her old one had been destroyed by the electromagnetic wave during the previous encounter. Teppei offered to accompany her for protection, but Akari insisted she could take care of herself and urged him to focus on the team's mission to locate the world gears. This further deepened Teppei's sense of inadequacy. Meanwhile, the story introduced Eika, a famous idol. However, Eika had grown weary of being an idol after reading an article exposing her past in an orphanage and her lack of formal education. She worried that her fans might turn their backs on her, leaving her isolated once again. Her manager reassured her, pointing out that if people disliked her, there wouldn't still be fans attending her shows. Elsewhere, Akari was approached by Zin. She quickly threw her shopping bag at him and fled. Just when she thought she had escaped, Amarok intercepted her. He lunged at her and knocked her unconscious with a sedative before taking her away. At the same time, Eika's manager informed the event organizers that she was encouraging Eika, believing in her talent. However, Malkin approached Eika in the restroom and performed the ritual to awaken her memories. Eika swiftly regained consciousness, unlocking the power of a world gear. Back at the base, Daichi's team returned, and the commander's assistant asked if they knew where Akari was. The group replied that Akari had gone shopping, which the assistant found strange, wondering why someone would turn off their phone while shopping. Teppei, feeling guilty, regretted not insisting on accompanying Akari for her protection. Meanwhile, Akari regained consciousness, enduring Malkin's taunts. Malkin demanded that she hack into their organization's systems and bring them down. Amarok fired a warning shot to pressure Akari into compliance. Back at the base, the assistant noted Akari's unexplained absence as the operation start time drew near. She suspected Akari was slacking off, but Hana defended her, believing that Akari would never act irresponsibly. Daichi prepared to deploy in his robot, while Teppei grew increasingly suspicious that something had happened to Akari. Shortly after, Eika activated her robot, appearing atop a skyscraper. Daichi quickly received the report and requested permission to engage. The assistant initially denied it, citing the distance to the location and the enemy's artillery-based combat style, which would put Daichi at a disadvantage. However, Daichi insisted, preferring to face the disadvantage rather than allow the enemy to attack a populated area. Despite the risks, he launched into battle. Teppei agreed and activated the system to launch Daichi into battle. The launch pad was quickly set up, and Daichi was shot out of the train car. Realizing he wouldn't land precisely on target, Daichi fired an energy blast from his gun to propel himself further. He then drew his gun and continued flying forward while firing back at Eika. However, Eika's firepower was superior, and Daichi's robot was shot down. Eika didn't pursue him, as her team only needed to transform into the space robot to secure victory. Meanwhile, Akari had been coerced into ensuring Daichi couldn't launch into space if the enemy succeeded in their transformation. Daichi decided to take a desperate risk. He pulled out his remaining gun and flew straight up to attack. Eika quickly disabled another of Daichi's guns and destroyed one of his robot's arms. Undeterred, Daichi opened his cockpit and manually fired his personal weapon at Eika. She raised her shield to block, but Daichi increased the power of his shot, successfully destroying the head of Eika's robot and preventing her transformation. He narrowly avoided falling off the skyscraper, with only 3 seconds left on the timer. Defeated, Eika resolved to return to her idol career and continue performing for her fans. Meanwhile, Amarok forced Akari to sabotage the hero's base by making it explode entirely. Daichi received a report that their launch system had been disabled by 90%, which was likely Akari's doing. The team concluded that Akari had been captured, deepening Teppei's regret for not accompanying her earlier. At that moment, Akari decided to take a stand. She declared she would no longer obey Amarok or Malkin. Instead, she threatened to launch all nuclear weapons on Earth to annihilate humanity. She didn't care if humanity was erased because, as Teppei later explained, the purpose of the world gears was to harvest energy from humans. If humanity were destroyed, it would take millions or even billions of years for humans to evolve again and provide energy. Malkin kissed Akari, confirming she was serious about her plan. Amarok had no choice but to let her go. Akari declared that alien invaders like them would never defeat humanity. A few days later, the group arrived at their next destination, where Hana and the squirrel predicted another World Gear recruitment event would take place. The commander instructed everyone to act cautiously this time, as Akari's kidnapping during the previous mission had been a serious matter. While Akari downplayed the incident, the commander, acting like a concerned parent, saw things differently. Teppei expressed his growing pessimism about his inability to contribute to the team. The assistant commander advised Teppei to recognize his own strengths and capabilities. She tasked him with completing a power test involving himself and his gun. If he succeeded, the team's overall strength would improve. Encouraged by Daichi's words, Teppei felt somewhat more confident. Meanwhile, a potential new World Gear user was introduced, a girl named Lin, who had a passion for speed. Lin, a racing girl, was admired by many racing boys who speculated she might be the daughter of a wealthy family, given her high-end motorcycle. The story revealed that Lin's source of funding came from her close friend, Mao, a researcher who supported Lin's racing passion. Lin approached Mao to request upgrades for her motorcycle. Meanwhile, Daichi and Hana were out together when Daichi's bracelet got caught on Hana's shirt. As Daichi tried to untangle it, the close proximity made him a bit flustered, but he managed to free it before the situation escalated further. Akari felt guilty about what she had said to Teppei, realizing he had taken her words about his usefulness too seriously. However, Daichi saw a silver lining, recognizing Teppei's strong desire to contribute to the team. The narrative then revealed Mao's reason for funding Lin's racing endeavors. She needed Lin for an experimental project. During one of their experiments, Malkin and Amarok unexpectedly appeared. Amarok approached and awakened Lin, while Mao was shocked to find Lin's brain activity drastically changed compared to just moments earlier. Mao realized who Amarok and his group were, but before she could act, the three dealt with the researchers and left. Shortly after, the trio of World Gears encountered Daichi. Amarok intended to deal with Daichi immediately, but Lin wanted to play with him, so Amarok let her handle it. Lin met Daichi at an aquarium, where they discussed the concept of death. Lin argued that humanity's mortality proved they were imperfect beings, while Daichi countered that the inability to die showed that beings like the Gears were not truly human. Their debate escalated until Lin drew her gun, prompting Daichi to dodge and flee. Lin pursued him but was outmaneuvered when Daichi circled behind her and aimed his weapon. Daichi attempted to disarm her, but Lin kicked him down and escaped. Lin returned to Amarok and Malkin, entering her combat machine to seek revenge on Daichi for their earlier encounter. Her signal was quickly detected, and Daichi realized she would be his next opponent. The assistant warned him to be cautious, as he had already encountered the enemy. Since the battle would occur underwater, Daichi dove into the water to engage Lin. Lin, equipped with a machine specialized for underwater combat, moved at incredible speed. She relentlessly attacked, damaging Daichi's robot severely. Running out of time, Daichi allowed Lin to grab him, using the opportunity to strike at her machine's head. However, before he could destroy it, time ran out, and Lin ascended to space to initiate her transformation. At this moment, Teppei requested permission to launch using an experimental device still under development. The commander initially refused, citing the high risks of using an untested system. However, Peter approved Teppei's request, reasoning that only Teppei could turn the tide. Teppei argued that since Daichi had allowed the enemy to escape, it was his responsibility to recapture them, emphasizing the team's duty to support one another. The commander left the decision to Daichi, who, as team leader, permitted Teppei to deploy. Preparations were made for Teppei's launch and combination process. Teppei was launched into space, passing through 3 space stations to complete the fusion process. After skipping the technical procedures, Teppei's new robot was revealed similar in design to Daichi's, but painted blue and equipped with a cannon on its left arm for long-range attacks. Despite this, Lin's speed allowed her to evade the attacks easily and close in on Teppei. She then created multiple multidimensional portals to launch attacks from various angles. Surrounded by the portals, Teppei closed his eyes, relying on energy flow perception rather than sight to keep up with Lin's speed. A barrage of bullets was fired at Teppei, but he successfully dodged them and charged through the correct portal, colliding directly with Lin's robot. Temporarily defeated, Lin retreated to Amarok and Malkin. She informed them of another formidable enemy. Meanwhile, Daichi was astonished by Teppei's newfound abilities. Simultaneously, Mao, the researcher, regained consciousness and returned home. There, a young girl named Setsuna awaited her. Setsuna, like Hana, had a squirrel companion. 10 years earlier, Mao and a group of researchers discovered Setsuna's potential. Her singing voice could generate energy identical to the type produced by the weapons used by Daichi's group. A few days later, Teppei rejoined Daichi's team. Daichi wondered about the assistant's whereabouts, prompting Akari to suggest that he should stop relying on her too much. Reflecting on his shortcomings, Daichi acknowledged that letting the enemy escape was his fault. As a gesture of recognition for Teppei's recent performance, Daichi gave him a necklace. Teppei noted that only 2 enemies remained before their mission would be complete. During this time, the assistant visited a bar to meet the owner, who was a detective 10 years ago. She came here to gather information and wanted to know why he left his detective career. However, he was unwilling to share, so she asked about the incident involving the Macbeth Corporation a decade ago. At that time, Macbeth Corporation was developing a type of mobile weapon with a half-human, half-machine interface. The pinnacle of their experiments was the creation of 6 children through illegal genetic manipulation. Someone eventually exposed the corporation, which led the authorities to discover and take the 6 children away. Those responsible for the project were quickly arrested. Simultaneously, in the outskirts of Tokyo, people mysteriously began falling into comas at night and failed to wake up for several days. Many believed that this was caused by the experiments conducted by Macbeth Corporation. Amid the chaos, the current chairman seized the opportunity to rise to power, overthrowing the former chairman of the time. The former chairman was later found dead, and the police ruled it a suicide. The assistant was there to ask the former detective about what happened to the 6 children who were taken away by the authorities. He had no information about them, as all records had been destroyed, and his superiors had prevented him from accessing any further information about the children. Determined, he conducted his own investigation into their whereabouts, but was eventually discovered and dismissed. His reason for seeking the children was his suspicion that his superiors were hiding something, as he did not believe the children had been set free or their information properly secured. The assistant then left, realizing that the detective had no more useful information, though he suspected she knew something about the 6 children. He recalled that each of the 6 children bore a number between 3 and 8, meaning that numbers 1 and 2 might exist elsewhere. He suspected that more children might have been subjected to illegal experiments to create advanced weapons. Meanwhile, the current chairman recalled the circumstances surrounding the former chairman's alleged suicide. Before his death, the former chairman had called him, claiming he had been framed. However, investigations found no concrete evidence implicating anyone, leading the current chairman to suspect the corporation's AI was involved. The AI, however, insisted that it was merely fulfilling the purpose for which it was created. Elsewhere, Hana and Akari unexpectedly encountered Setsuna at the pool. Akari was surprised to see that Setsuna had a squirrel identical to Hana's and questioned whether the squirrel could talk. For ordinary people, the obvious answer would be no. At the same time, Mao and her assistant were setting up a machine for an experiment. Setsuna returned shortly after, expressing her happiness about being allowed to explore outside the research facility, which she hadn't been able to do before. Mao then instructed Setsuna to sit on the machine for a checkup. Meanwhile, Daichi and Teppei arrived at Mao's research facility after learning of its connection to the Macbeth Corporation. Unexpectedly, they encountered Amarok and Malkin, who immediately opened fire, forcing Daichi and Teppei to take cover behind a tree. Teppei was puzzled about when the two had awakened to the extent that they could meticulously plan such operations. A flashback revealed that Malkin and Amarok had previously kissed to test their telepathic abilities. Later, the current chairman of Macbeth Corporation adopted both of them and subjected them to transformation experiments. During this process, they regained their memories. Teppei explained that even if a world cog hadn't fully awakened, kissing someone could still enable them to access telepathic powers and read minds. Meanwhile, Mao was revealed to have plans to transfer her consciousness into another body, targeting Setsuna due to her immortality as a world cog. If Mao could harness Setsuna's powers, she would achieve her dream of eternal life. However, Setsuna read Mao's intentions and fled. Mao tried to chase her but was immediately shot dead by her own subordinate. Meanwhile, Amarok and Malkin circled around to ambush Daichi from behind, but Teppei used his gun to fire a shot that created a protective shield for Daichi. The two were surprised to see Teppei wielding a gun similar to Daichi's, forcing them to retreat. They then went to look for Setsuna, only to find that the place had been cleared out, and Setsuna was no longer there. At that moment, Mao's assistant called his superior to report that the mind transfer device had been taken. We are then introduced to Kumiko, the daughter of a Yakuza boss. When she was a child, her father brought her to a slave market and told her to choose a subordinate. Kumiko was clearly unhappy with her father's terrifying profession, but eventually chose a child sitting curled up in a corner of the cell. In the present, Daichi's group arrived at a new location. They discussed how, even though no robots had been activated during the last incident, Amarok and Malkin's appearance suggested that one of the remaining two world cogs might be nearby, although it seemed the two had not yet found it. Hana's squirrel mentioned that this trip would be different from previous ones. Daichi, already asleep, was suddenly kissed by Hana at Akari's suggestion, who thought it would help him sleep better. Innocently, Hana kissed him before returning to her bed. The scene shifts to an underground arena where a champion named Baku is engaged in a match against a larger opponent. Despite the size difference, Baku maintained his championship title with a single punch. It's revealed that Baku is the child Kumiko purchased from the slave market years ago. Kumiko believes Baku no longer needs to continue fighting, but respects her father's command to keep him involved. Baku also asked Kumiko to keep her distance, citing her engagement, but she ignored him. Another individual then arrived to escort Kumiko back to her father, who wanted to meet her. Back with Daichi's group, they were eating as usual when they stumbled upon a wedding in progress. Watching the bride and groom kiss made Akari and Teppei wonder if Daichi had ever kissed anyone before. Daichi admitted he hadn't, which led the two to suspect that Hana might have stolen Daichi's first kiss the previous night. The assistant later contacted the group to inform them about an illegal underground fighting tournament in the city. Akari eagerly volunteered to investigate, and the group soon arrived at the arena, only to be stopped by security. Daichi presented an invitation, but security claimed minors were not allowed. Akari resolved the issue by bribing the guards with a wad of cash, and the group gained entry. Inside, they witnessed Baku's next fight. This time, his opponent wielded a knife, which was permitted under the rules. The attacker launched a series of relentless strikes, but Baku disarmed him by targeting his wrist and then delivered a powerful uppercut to secure victory. Amarok, intrigued by the match, decided to enter the arena to challenge Baku. Daichi's group was surprised to see Amarok arrive so soon. Daichi stopped Teppei from drawing his gun, reminding him not to fight in such a crowded place. Unexpectedly, the casino boss from Zin's previous encounter was also present and still harbored a grudge against Amarok. Amarok began the fight by overwhelming Baku, forcing him into a defensive position. However, Baku managed to grab Amarok and slam him to the ground. Amarok quickly escaped, locking Baku in a chokehold while attempting to awaken Baku's memories. Baku resisted, breaking free and causing tremors that shook the arena. The lights went out, and Amarok and Malkin vanished from the scene. Amarok was later pursued by the casino boss and his men. Zin intervened, warning the boss to leave if he valued his life. When the boss refused, Zin caused a metal pipe to pierce through the boss's heart before leaving with Amarok. Meanwhile, Malkin confronted Baku and attempted to awaken his memories, but Baku fought back and escaped by leaping off a bridge. Unexpectedly, the casino boss, presumed dead, came back to life with his wound completely healed. He realized he was immortal and seemed unfazed by this revelation. At this moment, Akari was investigating the underground arena and accidentally uncovered an incident related to it. The following morning, the World Gear Group brought Baku's machine to the area, determined to resolve the issue. Zin was also reviewing information and was puzzled as to why the murder of the casino boss he had committed the previous night hadn't been reported in the news. Daichi's group, meanwhile, asked their assistant if there had been an earthquake the previous night. However, there was no record of such an event, suggesting that the tremor was caused by the power of the world gear. Elsewhere, Kumiko met with Baku and revealed that she had been having nightmares recently. She confessed that she despised her father, who treated people as tools, and that his child trafficking business was her worst nightmare. Though she felt unworthy of judging her father, as she had chosen Baku from the slave market herself, Baku didn't blame her, saying she had given him a place to belong. The casino boss, who was also Kumiko's fiancé, despised Baku's closeness to Kumiko. She then asked Baku to perform the magic trick he had done before. In the past, Baku had used his ability to restore a torn photograph of Kumiko's mother, and this time he replicated it with playing cards. Kumiko realized that Baku's magic was actually his unique ability. Meanwhile, Daichi and Teppei were practicing shooting. Teppei performed well, while Daichi struggled with standard firearms but excelled in live combat situations. Their assistant suggested that Daichi try using his energy gun. Surprisingly, his performance improved dramatically. When asked about the difference, Daichi explained that the energy gun felt like an extension of his body, as natural to use as moving his arm. Shortly after, the assistant received a message from Akari, reporting that another machine was set to activate that evening. Teppei's machine was still being transported, so the group had to rely on Daichi. The casino boss, meanwhile, instructed the referee to prepare a grand final match for Baku, aiming to maximize profits before eliminating him. That evening, Daichi and Teppei returned to the underground arena. Daichi went to the restroom and encountered Baku. Recognizing him, Daichi asked if he was afraid of fighting. Baku replied that his only fear was failing to protect those he cared about. Baku then entered the arena and faced an opponent armed with 2 wooden swords. He quickly broke the swords and knocked the opponent out with a single punch. After the match, Baku returned to his room, only to encounter the casino boss and his henchmen. Before the boss could attack, they heard Kumiko scream. Baku incapacitated the 2 men and rushed to find Kumiko. Amarok's group had captured Kumiko and ordered Baku to stay put. Malkin approached and awakened Baku's memories while Zin released Kumiko. At that moment, the casino boss arrived and shot at Baku, but Kumiko stepped in to shield him. Zin, shocked, questioned how the boss was still alive. Kumiko, now understanding the truth, realized that her suspicions had been correct. Akari informed the group that, a year ago, a yacht explosion occurred with Kumiko's entire family aboard. Strangely, no one died in the incident. Kumiko revealed that the survival of everyone involved, herself included, was due to Baku's ability. 1 year prior, Kumiko had brought a bomb onto the yacht, intending to destroy her family and her father's cruel empire. However, Baku had used his power to reverse the event, making it impossible for anyone involved in the explosion to die. Kumiko, tormented by this prolonged nightmare, begged for release. Baku, though reluctant, finally freed everyone from his ability. Amarok remarked that everything Baku had been holding onto was nothing more than an illusion. Now, Baku resolved to join the other world gears in consuming this world entirely. Baku then climbed into his robot and entered the battlefield, with Daichi quickly being launched into the arena. Daichi flew over to Baku's location, while the Amarok group was there to comment on the match. Daichi drew his gun, but Baku swiftly kicked him down and prepared to strike with a punch. However, Daichi managed to dodge and soon realized Baku's combat style. Despite Baku's relentless attacks, Daichi noticed that Baku lacked any real fighting spirit. Unable to dodge forever, Daichi decided to rush at Baku and land a direct punch to the robot's head to end the match. Afterward, Daichi returned to the group, and Teppei figured out who the newly awakened gear was. However, Daichi felt that Baku seemed to be fighting in search of death. Baku, along with the other gears, had left the city he had dedicated his life to. A few days later, as they arrived at a new location, Akari suggested the group take a vacation, as Hana had forecasted that there would be no significant events for the next 3 days, allowing them to relax without worries. Akari pushed Daichi to agree with her, and their assistant, left with no choice, allowed the group to take the break as Akari wished. Meanwhile, Amarok and Malkin's machines had been repaired. The chairman, frustrated with the delays in the EYE's plan, was unsure whether the issue lay with the plan itself, or if the two were simply not cooperating. He felt the need to control them somehow. Daichi's group rented 4 rooms in a hotel for their vacation. Akari asked Daichi to maintain his composure during their stay. Daichi didn't understand why until he checked into his room and realized that Hana was next door. Upon entering, he discovered his room was connected to Hana's. Hana then went to take a shower, and Daichi struggled to control himself to avoid crossing any boundaries. Akari was amused by the situation, while Teppei was unsure what to do during the break. Later, Hana told Daichi that she would go to bed early. Daichi peeked into her room and saw that she was sleeping soundly, so he turned off the lights and went to bed as well. In the middle of the night, Daichi woke up to find Hana sitting next to his bed, crying. He approached to check if it was really Hana or just an illusion, but she suddenly ran back to her room. The next morning, Hana was cheerful as usual, and Akari asked if Daichi had done anything the previous night. Daichi insisted he had controlled himself, suspecting that Hana might dislike him, but Akari didn't believe him. She then went to pull Hana away from the attention of some boys on the beach. Teppei, however, didn't think Hana disliked Daichi, as he had noticed that whenever Daichi went to bed, Hana would sneak a kiss on his cheek. Akari then asked Hana if she liked ice cream, and between ice cream and Daichi, who she preferred. Hana immediately chose Daichi, making Akari confident that Hana didn't hate him. Meanwhile, the chairman summoned Amarok and Malkin, questioning why they had used the machine on their own and damaged it, also consuming large amounts of the company's precious energy. Both of them explained they had been practicing for skill improvement, but the chairman forbade them from using the machine without his permission. Frustrated, they went to see the AI, demanding it launch a satellite from the Macbeth Corporation onto the headquarters of the opposing faction. This would not only eliminate the enemies in their way, but also cause trouble for the chairman. Meanwhile, Akari noticed that she had been trying to create opportunities for Hana and Daichi to get closer, but they still acted like children. Teppei suggested that Hana might also have a telepathic ability like the world gears, meaning whenever she kissed Daichi while he slept, she might be seeing something. That night, Hana once again cried beside Daichi's bed. Daichi woke up, asked if something was wrong, and, if possible, expressed a desire to kiss Hana. However, Hana refused, fearing that Daichi would hate her if he learned her true nature. Suddenly, their assistant called the group for an urgent meeting. At the same time, the chairman was shocked to learn that his satellite was about to crash into Earth, with less than 10 minutes remaining until impact. Everyone was deeply concerned upon hearing that a satellite, resembling a meteor, was about to crash into their base. Even if they managed to destroy the satellite, the damage to the base would remain unchanged. Hana decided to take action. She ran to the beach, pointed to the sky, and fired a light beam directly at the falling satellite. The satellite was completely incinerated by Hana's light beam, and Amarok realized that their princess had begun to act. Teppei knew that the attack had come from Hana. Daichi wanted to go to her, but she asked him not to approach and ran off. The next morning, many people had seen the light beam from the previous night and thought it was a shooting star or possibly a sun pillar. However, now that Hana was missing, the group found it difficult to take action. Akari believed that if Hana sensed enemy movements, she would definitely contact them. The organization was facing a problem due to a shortage of energy, and both Amarok and Malkin were experiencing the same issue. The two needed to find Setsuna. That afternoon, there was still no news about Hana. She had turned off her tracking signal, and the group worried she might be in danger. However, blindly searching wouldn't help. Hana, meanwhile, was wandering aimlessly when she coincidentally ran into Setsuna, who was selling paintings for some extra money. The two sat down to chat and discovered they shared a common fear being around others, knowing how terrifying it could be to understand someone's true thoughts. Hana, however, really wanted to be with Daichi, but she was afraid he would hate her if he found out who she really was. Suddenly, they spotted Amarok and Malkin nearby. The two ran and hid in an alley. Hana handed her squirrel to Setsuna to help her escape, but Amarok spotted them. The squirrel bit Amarok's ear, and Setsuna ran out to help Hana escape. Meanwhile, the chairman had begun to suspect the AI, and the two gears were secretly plotting against him. The AI was exposed and turned hostile, releasing gas to put him to sleep. It revealed that his control switch had no effect on it. The AI then made him sit in a chair and started its transformation. At that moment, Hana opened her signal and called the group, informing them that Amarok and Malkin were chasing her. Daichi immediately ran ahead, with Teppei and Akari following closely behind. Hana believed that Amarok was pursuing her, so she let Setsuna escape while she stayed behind to draw their attention. She ran to the beach but found no one chasing her. Instead, she encountered Daichi. Meanwhile, Amarok and Malkin had cornered Setsuna and were about to awaken her. Daichi kissed Hana, officially declaring his feelings for her. Amarok also kissed Setsuna, awakening her. Both Amarok and Malkin knelt before Setsuna and revealed to her who Hana truly was. Setsuna decided to greet Daichi's group with her own robot. Daichi, having accepted Hana's true self, asked her not to run away anymore. Afterward, Amarok and Malkin's robots arrived to attack, forcing Teppei and Daichi to stay behind and fight. The two drew their guns and prepared for battle. The assistant was also ready to launch 2 robots to aid them. Malkin seized the opportunity to capture Hana. As soon as Teppei and Daichi boarded their robots, they were bombarded with gunfire and unable to defend themselves. Hana, enraged, summoned her own gun for the first time and retaliated by shooting at the 2 robots. Malkin tried to dodge, but her bullets homed in on him, and their damage was devastating. Amarok, unable to evade, was severely damaged. A few days later, Daichi was brought to meet the commander and Peter, while Amarok and Malkin were summoned by the chairman. He was unusually lenient with them, which seemed strange to the two. They went to inquire with the AI, which simply explained that it had changed the chairman's personality using subconscious messages. It had caused him to fall in love with his secretary to divert his attention from work and reduce his stress. Amarok didn't mind, as long as it didn't interfere with their plan. However, they later discovered that the AI had transferred part of itself into the chairman's mind. It intended to manipulate both the corporation and the world gears. The world gears were now fully gathered in one location. Baku was curious about Teppei's whereabouts, and it was revealed that Teppei had officially left and become human. He was now capable of using a gun, a power that opposed theirs. Their original plan had been for Hana to fire the gun and provide energy to them. But now Hana had switched sides and could use the power they needed. Since there was only one energy tube left, Eika decided to accept the attack. Back on the other side, Hana visited Daichi and Teppei. She asked about Daichi being called earlier in the morning. He explained that the squirrel's injury had prevented them from predicting where the battle would occur, but the fact that Hana could now use her abilities was a significant step forward. With more forces targeting Hana, they decided to launch a new campaign. Before Hana could explain further, Akari returned from her temple visit. Hana was intrigued by the temple, so Daichi promised to take her to the festival once the mission was complete. Regarding the mission, Daichi revealed that the organization had planned to target the mothership of the world gears on Pluto, and they needed to keep the gears here to prevent them from providing reinforcements. The gears had chosen a secret location to allow Eika to activate. Since no one intervened, within 4 minutes, Eika had become a robot in space. A quick report was sent, and Daichi and Teppei rushed to the command room. However, the 2 robots of the 2 boys were damaged and unable to fly, so the commander sent Hana into battle. She had undergone training, and Daichi only wanted her to return safely. Hana arrived at the space station and began transforming. She created a red robot. As soon as they met, Hana was struck by a bullet. She regained her composure and dodged the subsequent shots. The command room began to suspect that the prediction ability might be Hana's, though she believed it was from the squirrel. Hana retaliated, but Eika created a shield that absorbed Hana's bullets and fired back. Hana barely managed to dodge and avoid taking full damage. Eika then trapped her and drained her energy. As everyone grew concerned, a wave of interference disrupted the signal, causing the visual feed from the command center and both robots to go dark. Hana, however, could still sense Eika's energy and charged toward her. Eika fired wildly, but Hana dodged and fired back, destroying Eika's robot. When the signal returned, everyone sighed in relief, knowing Hana had won. That night, the commander contacted the governor and reported that the campaign would take place in 10 days. Meanwhile, high-ranking officials in the surveillance department did not believe the commander's plan would succeed, so they decided to act on an alternate plan to save humanity from extinction. The next day, an inspector from the surveillance department arrived. The commander was aware of this and welcomed the inspector. Knowing the inspector's target was Hana, he kept her on the space station for now. Hana spent time with the 2 female crew members, who asked if Teppei had a girlfriend. The new inspector contacted headquarters to report that Hana was not present. Meanwhile, the Gears had prepared 2 energy tubes, and the organization received a report that the Gears had just harvested energy. They immediately called Daichi's group into action. Akari questioned the rings both she and Teppei took turns wearing, and Teppei explained it was part of a game between them. When they arrived at the command room, the inspector showed distrust toward the group, dismissing them as children unfit for such a world-scale mission. Meanwhile, the Gears had to choose 2 people, and since others had left, only Amarok, Malkin, and Zin had to decide. Malkin was chosen, and the 2 boys flipped a coin to choose the other. This time, Zin was selected for the mission. Once the signal came through, the organization immediately sent Daichi and Teppei into battle. Both boarded their robots and launched into space on rockets. Instead of seeing just one transformation, this time they witnessed 2. Before they encountered the enemy, the inspector sent out 3 drones to fight. The 3 drones moved incredibly fast and erratically, causing Zin significant difficulties. However, Malkin's ability to deceive machinery allowed her to easily take control of all 3 drones. Akari attempted to hack back into the system and warned Daichi to be cautious. Both of them were initially forced to retreat under heavy fire from the drones. They decided to stick close together and unleashed a barrage of gunfire, accidentally destroying 1 drone. Akari managed to hack the remaining 2 drones, turning them into additional firepower to confront the 2 Gears. As the Gears charged forward, Akari used Daichi's system to emit a wave that disabled the 2 Gears temporarily. Seizing the opportunity, Daichi and Teppei tried to destroy their cubic cores. Although they managed to destroy the robots, the cores remained intact and returned to their origin. Teppei theorized that the cores could only be destroyed through the willpower of their users. Upon returning, Amarok noted Akari's increasing ingenuity, concluding that their next attack would require their full force. Daichi questioned Akari about the waves she emitted earlier, and she revealed that it was a new technique she had developed. The group remained on the space station, with the governor deciding to delay their return to Earth until the following day. The 2 female crew members, seeing an opportunity with Teppei present, attempted to approach him. The governor explained that bringing Hana back to Earth would be risky, which was why the commander had sent the 2 boys to protect her. The commander wanted the governor to begin testing Daichi to prepare for the next phase of the plan. Daichi underwent training to increase his firing range. He needed to achieve a minimum distance of 2 units for the mission, but his maximum range during training was only 1.8 units. Interestingly, during live combat, he managed to exceed 2 units, though the inconsistency necessitated further practice to ensure reliability. After work, the 2 crew members approached Teppei at the pool to ask if he liked anyone, while Hana was summoned by the governor. Meanwhile, Daichi encountered an older man in the ship hangar. Hana wondered why she had been called, and the governor explained that Akari had never had a friend before because she had never opened up to anyone. Hana was the first person Akari had ever called a friend. The governor, being Akari's mother, admitted that she had never spent much time with her daughter, leading Akari to feel like she didn't need her. However, Hana believed Akari didn't truly feel that way. Hana herself lacked a real family, but had 3 friends who helped her understand the feeling of belonging. Seeing the governor, Hana imagined that having a family must be wonderful. She hugged the governor to understand what it felt like to have a mother. Meanwhile, Daichi learned from the man in the hangar that the ship was still in development and could serve as humanity's last hope if Earth were destroyed. The man revealed he was Manet, a member of the ship's development team, and recognized Daichi as the chosen gun wielder. He requested a handshake, which Daichi reluctantly accepted. The next morning, the trio departed for Earth. Teppei was invited for a future meeting by the 2 female crew members, while the governor entrusted Hana with taking care of Akari in her stead. Daichi reflected on the handshake and felt unworthy of the title of hero that everyone attributed to him. Manet, however, believed otherwise, deeming Daichi merely lucky to have been chosen by the gun and predicting that Daichi would soon realize his true nature. Suddenly, Teppei noticed their flight path had been altered, and the trio was rerouted to Australia. They suspected this was due to infiltrators targeting Hana aboard the space station. The trio landed safely in Australia. With no connection to the command center, they decided to activate their robots and seek refuge at a local base. Meanwhile, Amarok and Malkin approached the AI, questioning why they couldn't use the gun. The AI explained that it didn't know the exact reason, but speculated that the gun was a living entity incompatible with the gears. Amarok and Malkin also shared gossip with the AI about the chairman's recent scandals, revealing that he had been unfaithful and subsequently dumped by his secretary. Back on Earth, the squirrel grew anxious for Hana's safety, causing Akari to worry that something might have happened to her. Meanwhile, Teppei's group rested and ate at the Australian base. Teppei received a beautifully prepared lunchbox from the two girls, which looked far more appealing compared to Daichi's meal. This was Daichi's first time abroad, though it came under unfortunate circumstances. Hana asked him about his parents, and Daichi revealed that both had passed away, or at least, his father's death was presumed, as it was never confirmed. Suddenly, the three were discovered by enemy aircraft. They quickly returned to their robots, and the planes demanded their surrender. Teppei immediately shot one down, recognizing it as an unmanned drone belonging to their own organization, likely operated by those targeting Hana from within. Teppei declared he wouldn't let anyone harm Hana and urged Daichi to be decisive when making decisions. The trio attempted to escape but fell off a cliff, where they were surrounded by 2 brigades of tanks. The tanks only targeted Teppei and Daichi, clearly avoiding Hana's location, implying the enemy knew which vehicle she was in. Teppei and Daichi fought back, but Teppei sustained an injury, losing a robot leg. Teppei insisted that Daichi take Hana to safety, as their mission was to protect her. However, Daichi hesitated, wanting to prove himself as a true hero. He then fired 2 powerful beams, spinning to sweep the area clean. His attack output reached an astonishing 5.8 units, leaving Teppei impressed. The 2 still functional robots decided to carry Teppei to a base in Australia for temporary shelter, a move anticipated by Manet and those targeting Hana. Akari suddenly managed to contact them, warning them not to head to the Australian base, as the overseers there had too much unchecked power, putting Hana at significant risk. The group decided to head to another base, instead one without a defensive system, but with a ship they could use to return to Japan. However, this meant they would be targeted by anti-aircraft artillery. Akari assured them she could handle the situation, having already hacked the organization's entire system. The commander noticed Hana had changed significantly, smiling more than she ever had before, and attributed this transformation to Daichi. The group infiltrated the base, stole the ship, and escaped without resistance, as Akari had caused a power outage across the organization's system for an hour. However, the overseers had prepared a countermeasure, deploying a high-speed spaceship equipped with advanced combat machines. Even if Daichi's group reached Japanese airspace, it was unclear if their pursuers would respect territorial boundaries. The overseer who previously visited the base reported to her superiors, acknowledging that Daichi's group and their organization had performed admirably. However, she emphasized that capturing Hana was a top priority. Still, even if they obtained Hana, whether she would comply remained uncertain. It was revealed that Hana had previously been imprisoned aboard a spaceship, where Daichi and Teppei first encountered her. She was part of the ship itself but feared returning to it. No one knew why only Teppei had been able to pull her out of the ship. That night, the overseer's spaceship caught up with Daichi's group, launching an attack. Although their ship held up, it remained vulnerable. Hana recalled her purpose, to wield the gun. However, she doubted her ability and had retreated into darkness. Then, she saw a light and sought out the person who had created it, Daichi. Yet, she felt it was Daichi who had found her. Determined to repay Daichi's light, Hana decided to take action and head to the robot, with Daichi choosing to accompany her. Hana and the commander had devised a plan unknown to Akari and Teppei. She and Daichi fought back, forcing the enemy ship to transform. It shot Hana down and captured their ship, intending to eliminate Teppei and Daichi. From underwater, Hana unleashed a powerful shot, damaging the enemy ship. She then emerged in her spacecraft, the very one where Teppei and Daichi had found her. Firing another devastating shot, she destroyed the enemy vessel, which attempted but failed to retaliate with equal force. Peter warned Hana that returning to the ship would make her incapable of escaping on her own. Only Daichi could extract her. If anything happened to Daichi, she would remain trapped. Hana accepted this, stating that if Daichi were gone, she wouldn't want to leave the ship anyway. Daichi then retrieved Hana, successfully bringing her out of the ship once more. The two left, and Teppei was relieved that both were safe, although he could no longer enter that ship. Meanwhile, the two senior commanders of the organization set foot on this ship for the first time, which signified that the organization was taking the plan proposed by the governor and the commander seriously. The governor decided to let Daichi speak. Daichi explained that their 3 robots would be brought into Hana's mothership for a mission to travel to Pluto, where the World Gear's mothership was undergoing maintenance. Once there, they would use the robots to destroy the mothership's power core. The two commanders wanted Daichi to confirm that he could consistently generate enough firepower to destroy the power core again. However, since Daichi couldn't be certain, the commanders could not finalize their decision. Meanwhile, the monitoring faction didn't want Daichi's side to grow out of control and sent someone named Point, who turned out to be the glasses-wearing man Daichi had once smashed in the head on a mission. Point infiltrated a tour ship heading to the space station, where both Hana and the governor were waiting because Akari was also on board. Upon arriving at the station, Point scanned his retina, and thanks to specially designed contact lenses, he avoided detection. Surprisingly, another unexpected individual, Eika, also showed up. Since Eika was an idol, everyone assumed she was there simply to observe. However, everything she gathered during the tour was sent to the chairman and the AI, and she brought along a mysterious box that was part of Amarok's conspiracy. After Eika had seen enough, Teppei and Daichi, who had just finished training, headed to the swimming pool, where they encountered Eika and a group of girls. Daichi greeted her politely, while Teppei simply dove into the pool. Meanwhile, the governor and the commander had a discussion. The governor expressed concern that Daichi's group was too young for the responsibilities they were taking on. However, the commander had faith in them. He also revealed that his ex-wife wanted to adopt Hana after the mission ended, as she wished to give Hana a place to call home. The governor remained cautious about Teppei, given his retained memories of being a world gear, but the commander reassured her that Teppei was a crucial part of their team. The governor then asked why Eika had been allowed to join them on the station. The commander explained that having an idol on board would draw media attention, discouraging opposition factions within the organization from making rash moves. Meanwhile, Eika went to the box she had brought along and finally opened it, revealing a cockpit that allowed her to transform. Elsewhere, Daichi and Hana visited the Last Hope spaceship for humanity. The governor discovered Akari and Teppei spending time alone together. Teppei poured out all his thoughts, sharing how he felt about regaining his world gear memories and what it meant to choose to stay with his friends. Akari gave him a kiss, hoping it would help him find his answer. The governor, observing this, felt happy, thinking Teppei might become her future son-in-law, and she was no longer worried about him. Suddenly, the ship began shaking violently, and a voice announced that the vessel had been taken over. They recognized the voice. It was the same person who had previously tried to capture Hana. At that moment, the man pointed a gun at Daichi, once again attempting to take Hana. Teppei arrived and pointed his weapon at the intruder, but the man revealed that he was wearing a bomb around his neck. If he died, the entire ship would explode. Akari suspected that he had planted explosives at strategic points and informed the governor, who sent personnel to investigate those locations. In the chaos, Point managed to escape with Hana. Meanwhile, Eika remained calm, waiting for the right moment to act, as she had her own plans. She searched for something in space and eventually found it. Daichi reported to the command center about Hana being taken. Just then, they received an alert about a fragment of a spaceship hurtling toward them, expected to collide in over 10 minutes. Akari informed the two boys about the debris, but the squirrel companion grew increasingly agitated, leading them to suspect something more concerning was at play. Teppei decided to let Daichi focus on rescuing Hana while he took a robot to deal with the debris. After destroying the first piece, they received news that a larger fragment was on its way. Teppei fired another shot, destroying the second fragment, but Eika revealed there were hundreds more fragments in space and could toy with them as long as she pleased. She summoned 35 fragments at once, and when Teppei tried to shoot them, she made them dodge and targeted Teppei's thrusters and communication system instead. Teppei was hit, and the fragments continued heading toward the space station. Akari had to call Daichi, urging him to prioritize the safety of the ship, as its destruction would mean losing Hana and everyone aboard. Akari then discovered the energy source was located in the cargo bay. Outside, Teppei continued trying to shoot down the fragments, but their sheer number overwhelmed him. Point was frustrated that his well-laid plan was disrupted by the debris incident. Daichi entered his robot, preparing to join the fight, but the number of fragments had already reached 500. Left with no other choice, Daichi decided to use the plasma gun they had originally planned to deploy against the World Gear mothership. Though untested, it was their only option. He moved the gun into position but faced a critical problem. Teppei was within the firing range. Meanwhile, Point released Hana and sent her back to the ship to save as many people as possible. Daichi was under immense pressure, but Teppei trusted him to make the right decision. Ultimately, Daichi chose to fire. The blast destroyed all the fragments, and somehow Teppei survived. The security team located the cockpit, prompting Akari to instruct them to destroy the energy tube first. With her plan exposed, Eika decided to abandon the ship and return. After returning, Teppei remarked that Daichi was still weak, claiming he would have fired much sooner in the same situation. Both then set off to find Hana, but Point and Hana had already sought out Daichi. Point pointed a gun at Daichi's head, questioning his thought process when he fired the shot. Daichi explained that he didn't want to lose his friends, but if Teppei had died, he was willing to bear the guilt to protect humanity. Trusting Daichi, Point removed the bomb from his neck and made Daichi promise to protect Earth, the home of his family. The next day, the group began the process of merging humanity's last hope spaceship with Hana's mothership. Since it was the first time attempting this, they weren't sure if it would work, but Teppei's instincts told him it would, so they pressed forward. Akari mentioned a lunar project people were working on. The governor explained that the original plan was to develop a device allowing remote control of Hana's ship if she couldn't leave it, minimizing risk to her. However, the commander, who was ready to take full responsibility for any issues, revealed that the device had only a 1% chance of functioning. Seeing that Point had failed, the monitoring faction decided to escalate their efforts. Meanwhile, at the Macbeth Corporation, Amarok was preparing for a massive battle, and the World Gear faction awaited Baku and Setsuna's return with the final energy reserves and cockpits. They knew their time in this world was nearing its end, though Malkin mused that Earth wasn't such a bad place after all. Suddenly, the commander established communication with both the space station and Hana's ship. During their brief exchange, someone noticed the World Gear faction gathering massive amounts of energy, signaling an imminent full-scale robot assault. Daichi decided it was time for the group to head for Pluto. Everyone saluted them, wishing for their safe return. Hana went to the mothership to pilot it, determined to return with everyone and fulfill their promise to enjoy the festival together. Teppei gave Daichi back the ring, recognizing him as a true leader for making the hard decision to fire at him and the debris. However, Daichi wanted Teppei to keep it as a promise for them all to return safely. Hana then activated the mothership's weapons and set off. The World Gears detected the energy surge, realizing that Teppei had truly abandoned his life as a World Gear without regret. Daichi's group soon discovered that the monitoring faction had sent a massive carrier ship to stop them. The carrier launched several smaller aircraft, similar to those from before. Daichi took his robot into battle. The carrier fired a powerful shot at the mothership, forcing Teppei to use his gun to create a shield and retaliate. After some preparation, Hana was finally ready to initiate the jump to Pluto. Akari called Daichi back, but he was still being harassed by the small aircraft. Determined not to let the monitoring faction stop him, Daichi fought off the planes and tried to return to the ship. However, the jump was about to be initiated, and Daichi had yet to board. Hana couldn't stop the process, leaving the group hoping that Daichi would make it in time because, without him, Hana would remain trapped in the ship. Daichi used his gun to accelerate himself, managing to grab onto the ship just as the carrier prepared a powerful shot. Suddenly, everything brightened, and Daichi was transported back to the moment he first started summer vacation. He thought he had just experienced a long dream as events began repeating themselves. From attending a meeting with his uncle to a sense of déjà vu, everything felt oddly familiar. Later, at the arcade and his friend's house, he was surprised to find that his friends were Amarok, Malkin, and Eika. Strange images involving Amarok began flashing in his mind. When the TV was about to broadcast news of a rainbow, Eika turned it off. On his way home, Daichi almost saw the rainbow on TV again, but Baku distracted him, allowing someone else to turn it off. At home, Daichi recalled the festival and felt it held some significance for him. He visited the shrine and asked his uncle about eating watermelon, as he kept seeing images of it in his memories. At the shrine, he accidentally met Zin, who asked for a photo, leading to a brief conversation. Daichi later took a bus and met Setsuna, who confided that she was living in a way she hated, which weighed heavily on her. Daichi advised her to try changing her way of life. Their conversation was interrupted when Lin crashed her motorcycle into the bus. To Daichi's surprise, Lin emerged unscathed. Both girls left, and Daichi took a taxi to the shrine. The driver mentioned keywords like déjà vu, strange dreams, forgotten memories, and, most importantly, how people referred to him as Captain. Though unsure why, Daichi found himself at the shrine. While praying, he encountered Hana's squirrel and suddenly remembered his mission to return, though he didn't yet know how. Visiting a shooting booth, he practiced shooting to get accustomed to the weapon. The world gears appeared, trying to tempt him to stay in this world, but he snapped out of it. Viewing his gun as an extension of himself, he resolved to reclaim the ring shared with Teppei. Daichi returned, latched onto the ship, and fired a shot that destroyed the carrier. Now ready, the group continued their journey. The jump only took them to a moon orbiting Jupiter. Planning another jump, they suspected interference from their enemies. Daichi remembered being manipulated through dreams. Suddenly, the world gears launched an attack, and Teppei identified Baku as the assailant. Teppei rushed to help, and Daichi engaged Baku, discovering his overwhelming power. Baku attacked with devastating force, claiming human life was too short and meaningless. Daichi countered that human life was not for the world gears to decide. Teppei arrived with the gun and asked Daichi to move aside, but Daichi was struck down to the moon's surface and dragged into its core, completely overpowered. Just as Baku prepared to finish him, Teppei teleported in front of Baku and fired the gun, completely destroying Baku's cube. Back on the ship, Akari speculated that Teppei had used a teleportation ability similar to Hana's and theorized the gun could enable Daichi to teleport if he learned how to use it. The world gears decided to prioritize stopping the group instead of attacking Earth, knowing they couldn't leave the solar system without the ship's energy core. The recently used cannon's ability to destroy cubes gave the group hope of defeating the world gears. After a second jump, they reached the world gear mothership. Teppei and Daichi went outside to fight, with Teppei using the cannon as a shield and Daichi launching attacks. Hana's mothership fired a massive beam, piercing the main ship and allowing the group to enter. They reached the core, but were ambushed by the world gears lying in wait. Amarok was impressed that the group had made it this far. He offered them a choice: become friends with the world gears. To prove his sincerity, he resurrected Baku, explaining that as long as the core existed, cubes could be restored if their physical bodies were intact. He proposed turning the group and humanity into gears, provided they discarded the gun. Daichi charged forward to fight, prompting Amarok to declare the negotiation a failure. Akari fired the ship's weapons, but Eika intercepted and retaliated. The core revealed itself as the AI from the Macbeth Corporation, stating it would eliminate any threats. It shot at Setsuna, but Lin shielded her, transforming into a cube before exploding. The AI declared it was tired of being a tool for the world gears and would now make them its tools. It could implant cubes into any living being, turning them into devastating bombs. When Daichi attacked, it threw a cube at him. Despite this, Daichi managed to shoot and cause the core to explode. However, the AI evolved into a larger cube, revealing its life force was tied to the existence of other cubes. Daichi attacked again, but it generated a shield. Teppei joined, only for the AI to create another barrier. It gloated that Hana had been sealed within the ship and couldn't escape. If the ship were destroyed, Hana would die as she was now a part of it. Daichi remained confident he could free Hana. Together, he and Teppei fired relentlessly, but the AI blocked every shot. It retaliated by targeting Eika and using her cube as a weapon against Daichi. Teppei created a shield to protect them both. The AI then absorbed Hana's mothership, ejecting Akari's smaller ship, and captured Hana, merging with her body and using her gun. Transforming the ship into a massive robot, it revealed its true name, Robin. It claimed it would harness the gun to create infinite energy. However, the gun refused to fire, bound by its rule of rejecting anyone who was a cube. Frustrated, Robin decided to destroy everything. Teppei and Daichi fought valiantly, but even with help from the gears, they couldn't inflict significant damage. Setsuna resolved to sacrifice her cube to destroy Robin, acknowledging her arrogance as similar to Robin's. She had gained clarity from her past humanity. As the group prepared for a final stand, Amarok hesitated but ultimately chose to sacrifice himself to protect Malkin. Malkin, in turn, shielded Daichi, expressing she didn't want to owe him for helping her understand life's essence. Setsuna and the others, driven by their emotions, joined the assault on Robin, leading to a massive explosion. Daichi's group was blown away, but Teppei shielded them. Robin survived, though weakened. Using its teleportation ability, it fled to Earth. Daichi's allies trusted he could follow, and he believed in himself as he pulled the trigger. Robin arrived on Earth, where military commanders identified it as Hana's ship. Daichi arrived soon after and engaged in combat. Despite losing an arm and being struck down, Daichi clung to Robin's arm and used a head-mounted cannon to breach the hull, climbing inside. Shedding his larger robot, he used a smaller unit to infiltrate further. Reaching the cockpit, he confronted Robin, who taunted him. Robin claimed if Daichi destroyed the ship, Hana would die, but if he served Robin with the gun, he could stay by her side. Daichi put away the gun and kissed Hana, awakening her telepathic abilities to pull her consciousness back. Hana was freed from the ship, but Robin laughed, stating that even with Hana's freedom, the robot's crash into Earth would cause catastrophic destruction, killing Hana along with it. Hana, however, didn't care because she knew Robin would disappear if he fell into the atmosphere. She was ready to die with the ship just to protect the planet and the people she loved. Daichi decided to help her because she reminded him so much of his father. The two combined their shots and pierced through Robin, then destroyed the entire ship. Robin decided to drag them both down with him, but Daichi managed to get back to the robot. However, Hana lost her grip, and the entire robot exploded. Everyone thought Hana was gone, but Daichi had saved her with the help of the green-haired girl who had once guided him inside the ship, leading them to the gun. And the film ends here.